said, be intentional. If you know you're going to Florida or any other state that probably needs to be boycotted, you can do your research ahead of time. Find those Black-owned restaurants, Black-owned, even gyms and recreational centers. There are Black people who own gyms and sports centers in Florida. You can't tell me that that does not exist. There have to be Black people who are doing Airbnb or have a bed and breakfast. You don't have to stay at a Marriott or at a big name hotel. So yeah, be intentional.
Welcome to the We Got Problems podcast with co-hosts Curtis G. Martin, Rhonda L. Brown, and Khalif Johnson Sr., the one and only podcast where solutions get discussed to our community's everyday troubles. Each week, you will hear mind-blowing conversations and actionable tips and strategies that you can implement in your daily life to become more effective. We got problems and we got solutions.
All right, you guys, welcome to the show. This is We Got Problems, the podcast. I'm here with my I'm here. You don't know who I am, but I'm here. All right, you guys, welcome to the show. This is We Got Problems, the podcast. I'm Curtis G. Martin here with my co-host, Ron L. Brown.
Hey, everybody.
Khalif Johnson Sr.
Hey, how y'all doing?
And Lashika Phillips.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, you guys, so today's talk, man, I'm ready for this one. We're talking about Florida and boycotting Florida over some of their policies that they're kicking out. What do you think, Rhonda?
You know what? I think I'm kind of on the fence. I'm for the boycotts, but then I'm not, because who is it going to be hurting?
So why do you think some Black businesses and organizations are taking a stand and boycotting?
Following suit.
Honestly. I think you got to take a stand somewhere, especially with the whole how they're moving on some of their legislation that they're putting into play. It's not as bad as saying we're going to walk out and do something, but now you're actually putting stuff in law to permanently affect people of color. So it becomes an issue there.
Yeah, When I first read an article back, I guess it may have been July or August, that was it the Alphas, they decided to boycott. And so then a lot of organizations started following suit. And my initial thought was, that's right, Black people, like, do something. That's right, do something. But then there is a Black organization that we are familiar with that is planning a big conference in Florida next year. And after hearing them mention why they're choosing to have their conference in Florida, that also made sense to me. And so for them, they were saying that, they're not going to be run out of Florida, because the Black businesses that are expecting that conference, they're the ones that's going to lose out, right? So I don't know if we need to pick a side. I just feel like I can see benefits on both sides.
So, I was trying to get off topic, but let me stay here.
What kind of ripple effect do you think boycotting can have if they inspire other businesses to do the same?
Yeah, like you said before, other organizations will follow suit. But I mean, I'm hoping that, to see a boycott that is really meaningful. And I'm not saying that this is not meaningful, but one where we can see some results behind it, right? So like if we go back to the bus boycott, forever ago. Well, really, actually not forever ago. But then we see after over 300 something, I forget how many days it was, then we were able to see some change. Like what is expected, or what do people expect to happen, after this boycott? I don't know.
Yeah. For me, the ripple effect I see is from the other side, because
Mm,
you know what happens to um, somewhat what people would call a normal person or a good person, right? When you tie a good policy with some of those bad policies, right? Like I think you know, when you talk about using the same bathrooms and women's sports for men, I don't think men should be boxing women, right? I saw a man beat the shit out of a lady, and I thought that was just wrong, and people think that's okay. So when he go to stop something like that, but then take away some black history, right?
mm,
So you turn these so-called normal people or would be good people into your supporters, and then now they supporting your good policy, but also supporting some bad policy, which they think it got to be bad if he doing it because he's sticking up for the right stuff,
It's tied in
Mhm.
though.
right?
It's tied in.
Because people don't look at everything. They do sound bites, right? So if they hear sound bites of something good, then that stuff that they were talking about with black studies, yeah, they talking anti-white, right? So it confuses people.
Yeah, but you see, when you start talking about the ripple effect of it and how it affects us, like you think that you're, like you said, like piggybacking off what you said, you think that you're supporting one thing and something totally different is tied into it. And when you start tying things together, you never really get to the root of the problem. And we can benefit from a boycott. We definitely can benefit from a boycott, but are we going to work together, and is the organizers of the boycott actually going to have a purpose behind it? You know, sometimes you just sitting there making noise. Oh, we don't like this, we don't like this, we don't like this. But are we actually going to be doing something that's benefiting the community? Are the businesses that are predominantly melanated going to be supported? Are we going to go back and start giving back to our communities and working together in unison in our communities with this? Or are we still going to be doing everything on our own little solo island, and then we just come together for this and then back to the hills? We got to stay together on this.
And I think too, the ripple effect for me, man. When you talk about boycotting, I boycott shit all the time. I'm telling you, I do. Like it. Don't nobody even know. Like if your business do bad by me, shit, you boycott it. I'm never come. It's a gas station I just was going to, and I was stopping to get some seeds. Right. Um, I had a bad experience. I never will go to that one again. And so then I go to the other one. Right. So now they're out. Right. So because I go in there, and this dude trying not to touch my hand, he taking this dirty money out of his cash register, putting it in his filthy hands, and then trying not to touch my hand, giving it to me. You know what I mean? I'm like, you
Mhm.
don't want my business, right? Like
Right.
my business is gone elsewhere, and we got to have that concept as people, right? Like we're not going to deal with people that don't want to deal with us, right? Like
Yeah.
if I'm in your restaurant and you don't want me there, shit, man, you ain't got to tell me twice.
Right.
I ain't finna fight to be in your restaurant.
And we
I'm
were just
glad
at
you.
a, go ahead,
Oh,
Shiki.
go ahead. Well, I was just going to say, I'm glad that you said it in that way, Curtis, that how you personally have your own boycott. And I was like, when was the last time we looked at the definition of boycott? I just pulled it up really quick. And it means to withdraw from commercial or social relations as a punishment or protest. So people really think about that as a definition, then you're absolutely right, Curtis. We, have the power within ourselves to boycott without there being a press release, a news
Hmm.
article, all of that. We can personally boycott. Yeah, I'm glad you said that.
Because I personally, if that's the case, I personally boycott all the time. You have one time to do bad business with me, one time, and I don't care how you look, where you come from, where you were brought up at. I have a store that I go to in my neighborhood, and it's a young kid in there, and he's earned my business. Like I talked to him about the podcast, he always gives me updates. He was like, "That was a good episode," but just generally having good conversation and genuinely being into the community, like he'll always get my business. I'll drive past 5 different stores just to make sure I go patronize the business that patronizes me. You know what I mean? So like you can support somebody and you can not like an anti-boycott and make sure that you go support a business, just like you could take your business away from them. Because like I said, it's a couple stores around my neighborhood that just didn't appreciate my business, and then they made me feel like I was the problem in there, so I stay away from them.
But what
Right.
about Florida, though? I'm just thinking about other states that have, problematic leaders. But but Florida, because he's been very vocal, public about his opinions and his stance on certain things. But aren't there other states that could use the good old boycott? I mean, I'm
Texas,
just saying.
Arizona, a couple of them. Texas, Arizona got some laws that goes on around there that ain't the best, but hey.
But I don't even know about the a boycott. And if you're gonna go there, be intentional. Like when we go somewhere, we're intentional about where we shop.
Hmm.
We go find black businesses to do business with.
Hmm.
Because
And
if
that's the way
you
it should be.
uh
That's the way it should be.
right, because now like all these people that are pulling out their conferences and stuff and not doing them in Florida, you're really hurting those black businesses because they're not getting that influx of money. They're not getting people intentionally patronizing them.
But I've been in Florida before, and they like we had USA Track and Field had a Junior Olympics down there a few years back, and when I tell you the vibration that the Floridians gave me, like it wasn't a good vibration. I know that doesn't represent Florida as a whole, but it's some parts of Florida that aren't as friendly as they should be, and they act like they don't want you down there. So you just have to be careful about where you go and the communities that you go into. Because now you go into Opalock and you go into some of the hood communities, they definitely want your business. They definitely want you to patronize this place, that place, and they'll give you good recommendations of businesses that look like you. But as a whole, just going around in different areas, yeah, they act like they don't want everybody that look like us there. And that's just what I've seen from going down there a few times in my life.
Yeah, Northern Florida seems to be I don't know, that's where I have personally experienced racism and seen signs of racism driving through. It's like once you leave Alabama and you start into Florida, I can't tell you the number of um, racist statues in folks' yards and signs, and the Confederate flag is very prevalent along that road. So yeah, I definitely know what you're talking about. But it's like that in other states. I'm originally from Tennessee, and
Yep.
you're right. Yeah, Memphis.
Hmm.
Hey, so tell me this: what do you guys think about black led organizations and businesses who insist on doing business in Florida as a message to DeSantis and others that we're not scared?
Yeah, blacks in government. They're taking a stand. I appreciate that because, like I said, when I first heard about the boycott, I'm like, okay, okay, black people, yeah. Then when I heard the perspective of the blacks in government leadership, like, yeah, no, we sending a message. That was something
Mhm.
that I could stand behind.
Hmm.
Mhm.
But you just got to be intentional. Like, yes, go there, but be intentional. Stay if you can find a black hotel owner or a black run or owned hotel, food places. You know, even down to your Uber drivers,
Or Turo.
or a Turo. Yeah,
Yeah, because you can't pick your Uber drivers, but you can definitely pick who you rent from on
I
Turo,
mean,
right?
you can kind of pick them because you see their pictures.
Oh yeah, and then just cancel.
Oh,
I've done that a few
oh
times.
shit! Hey, so everybody finna start discriminating through Uber, ain't that
I mean,
I know I ain't saying us, but I'm just saying I know we trying to do it as a supportive measure, right? But
right.
now that it's out, the cat's out the bag. Now, no, I don't want that. Come to
Cancel.
pick me up.
Cancel. We're gonna hit the cancel button. Nah, I think that it is. I think it is a real important thing that, as if you are doing business in that state, that you are intentional about how you're doing business. It's a thing to be proud of spending your dollars in your community. It's a thing to go ahead to be proud of spending, and even then, the businesses that you're doing business have to be proud to have you in there. And just because you look like me don't mean that you are going to do good business with me. You have to be happy to welcome people that look like you in, and you have to be intentional about going above and beyond a call of duty to do good business with people that look like you. So it's not all a one-sided thing. Oh, I'm boycotting, I'm not doing business with these people. But hey, if I go to my side, to my community, and they're not doing good business with me, then you're left without you're a consumer left without a place to go spend your dollars. So I don't care if you look like me. If you're doing bad business, I'm not doing bad business with you. I expect to be treated well when I go to anybody's business. So I'm intentional about going to spend my dollars, but the businesses that I'm spending them in, they got to be intentional about taking care of their people as well. I'm not asking for no discounts. I'm not asking for no breaks on prices. I'll pay for a price with no quarrel, but just treat me with the same respect that I'll treat you with.
Hey,
So
how
those
about this?
same. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just thinking about it in Atlanta. Killer Mike, he talked about they had an incident at a restaurant, and the guy wouldn't let some people in because he had on a hat and some shorts. But if you clearly look right through the door, you could see everybody almost sitting at the bar had on shorts, right? So immediately the boycott jumped off. And then you start hearing about everything, this dude had all these secret meetings and T.I. and them was involved. But Killer Mike, he said, look, this is the way we do it in Atlanta. He said, we shop black. And if we shop white, you got to be doing something to help the community. If we shop anybody else, not just white, I shouldn't have said that, but if they shop anybody else that's in the community, that they have to be trusted in that community and they known to help that community, right? Like, so I wouldn't say just we're going to boycott every business that's not owned by us, but you got to help support us too, not just robbing us blind, taking from us, and then next thing we know, you hitting us with 2x4s, pouring water on us, and all this type of crap, right?
Are out there with your tiki torches.
Yeah, that type of party.
Right.
Right.
So, how do you think those Black businesses and organizations can leverage their influence to shape policy, like locally and nationwide?
Supporting your politician that you put in office, that you voted for, that you as a community support. If you support someone as a community, then the politics that they're doing and the legislation that they're supporting supports the views of the people in the community that you're in. Don't just put anybody in office. That's why people think that the presidential race is the most important. Nah, you need to know who's running for Congress. You need to know who's running for your senator. You need to know who's running for your mayor. You need to know who's running for treasurer in your city. You need to know who you're putting in office. Once you put the right people in office, their policies that they're supporting will represent the community that they're coming from, because that's the whole purpose of having politicians that come from your area or having representation that comes from your area. Those are the people that represent what's going on in your community and what's going to most benefit the community that you're in. If you're not supporting those type of people and putting your money in you got to put your money where your mouth is. You can't just go out there and say, I support this person, it's a check. Nah, you got to put the flags up in front of your house. You got to be all in on your support of who you want to represent you. And people just do that 4 times every 4 years when they're talking about a president. And I think that's the worst part of it.
I think we should, though. We got to put in even more work than that, Trash. I agree with you, but I think we have to go to these town hall meetings, meetings in City Hall, and let them know what we want, what we looking for, what we need in our communities, and then a list of demands. Right, like we're not asking; these are demands. And then when we give our vote, then now the campaign gonna be against you the next time because you didn't live up to what you were saying. Right, like we too often we jump to one side and nobody never give us anything. Then we jump to the other side. Then we don't vote one year. It seemed like every time we're tricked into letting other people get in office and nobody giving us something. So I like the idea. I think Ice Cube said he had a list of demands, and when he said and talked to Trump, people were mad about that. Like, no, Trump listened and wanted to see what demands he wanted, and was on board with some of the stuff. But everybody, like, they tried to cancel Ice Cube. You know what I mean? I think that's the way to go. Is to I'm not Republican, I'm not Democrat, right? How can I get what we need, right? You talk to both sides. You know, even with Obama, I remember him talking about he was going to go talk to them in Korea, and they tried to tear his neck off. And then Trump said, "No, we're going to go talk to him." How do you hash out stuff if you don't talk to people, right? Like, so we got to put a list of demands. We got to talk to these people
And hold
Yeah,
them accountable.
and hold
yeah,
them accountable.
oh,
Definitely.
yeah. I think too the power is in numbers, and I feel like that's like so cliche to say, but I really do believe that because if you just have one uh, black organization or black owned business that are showing up at town halls, that can only do so much. But if you have and I'm for lack of a better term, a coalition, a group of organizations, a group there's more influence there. So I think to your question, Curtis, I think it's going to take more collective activism. I think that's what it's going to take.
Okay, on that note, are today's boycotts a powerful signal? Or are they largely just symbolic?
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I
Oh,
think some of them symbolic, honestly.
Yeah.
Because we were supposed to boycott Gucci, and now
Mhm.
everybody back wearing Gucci, right? Like, Gucci
No,
back to man.
you seen Floyd Merriweather? He was the main one. I'm gonna do what I want to do, but you're supposed to be a leader of the people, brother. You're supposed to be the leader of the people, and if they doing something that's against people that look like you, how you gonna be the main one that's front lining because you getting your pockets lined? Do you care more about your pockets or do you care more about the people? I saw something where Brother Mike Tyson spoke on that, and he was like, Ali was the leader of the people. He stood for the people. It wasn't just a boxing thing. He actually stood for the people, and he didn't go to war and he got thrown in jail because he stood for the people, and he wasn't against the people who ain't never done nothing to him. He was against the war, the people that was calling him out of his name and disrespecting him when he went to the stores. He stood for the people, and it's kind of hard when you get so glamorized by the money that the money becomes the most important thing.
I
Yeah.
feel like I've seen more Gucci after that incident with their advertisement than I did before. I mean, honestly,
Gucci doubled down.
Yeah,
yeah.
no, most of them doubling down. What was the coolest monkey in the jungle? What was that company?
Gucci.
No, that wasn't the coolest monkey in the jungle. That was
Uh,
H&M or something like that.
yeah.
Which I don't shop there, but some of this is advertising to apologize, right? We finna get that
mm,
notoriety. We're gonna get that notoriety off of. We're gonna issue them a little apology, and we're gonna make money, right? So because you have these people nowadays that social media then created a monster, right?
Hmm.
Because
Hmm.
what happens now is, say if we decide to boycott H&M,
okay.
right? You got a whole nother people that's gonna go support them just cause we boycotting,
Yep.
right? And so they pulled them out of bankruptcy. You know what I mean? They made enough money to stay around. I guess that I'm assuming that's what it was, right? Because they still
Wow.
here. But yeah, I think it's symbolic because we jump on the bandwagon to whatever person or group that started the boycott get what they wanted, then they're done. I'm still the same. Tommy Hilfiger said, "What? Never rock Tommy Hilfiger." Somebody gave me a Tommy Hilfiger jacket. It's sitting in the closet now with the tags on it. I'm not
Hey,
rocking
Yep.
it, right? Like I don't get down like that. Timberlands. Timberlands said, "What? Okay, I
Mm-hmm.
ain't rocking no Timberlands, right?" It's easy. I got rid of all my Adidas, right? Like, you gonna do yay what? Like, come on now. Like, we, with us, we make culture. we make stuff what it is, which some people should know we can make our own brands the same way. That's one reason I'm going to get deep into my own brands, right?
We
Like,
have our own brands. We just got to support some of them, or if
yeah.
not, we got to create them for ourselves. But we
Well,
do have some great brands.
you know what happens is we can create all we want. We got to just start rocking our own brands and make it cool to rock your own brand. If you ain't rocking your own brand, you ain't cool, right?
Right.
Right. That's what we got to do, because what some people try to do is make a brand that's high price just so you can buy it at high price, and don't nobody want to buy your high price stuff. They want high price stuff that they didn't have access to.
Mm.
Right.
You know what I'm talking? Since I got the money, I want stuff that I don't have access to, and so they feel like they accomplished something. So you know, I think for me is like I said, rocking my own brand. I'm gonna be rocking y'all brands, and that's what you're gonna see when I'm out. Like, you won't see, you'll still see me wear some Nike here and there, right? You'll still see me support like a LeBron James. You'll see me support a Steph Curry, right? Like, but I'm also smart enough to know that we have to watch these players and not think that like we boycott Nike for a reason. No, not only am I not going to boycott Nike, I'm gonna buy some stock in Nike since we buying a bunch of Nike, right? That we
Mm-hmm.
got to get smart enough like that too, right? Like, if that's where we all spending our money, if I'm gonna buy some shoes, I'm gonna buy some stocks.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this guy taught me a long time ago. He said, "Man, look at stuff that people in your neighborhood are buying, and then that's what you invest in. And you don't have to do that only in your community. You can look at other communities, see what they wear and what they're buying, and then that's what you invest in. So we got to learn how to invest along with the boycotts and whatever else.
What responsibility do corporations have to take like moral stands, even if it inconveniences them?
Mm.
That's another good one. Uh,
Mhm.
From
they should like be responsible to me. If I owned a big corporation and we were in these communities and and we robbing them of millions. Did I say robbing? Well, we making millions of dollars. We making millions of dollars, right? I would make sure the parks are right. I would make sure the community have good parks. I would make sure like some donate stuff to the schools. I would make sure like my company, it would be a dream big auditorium at somewhere, right? Like they should have some type of moral compass to want to see the community where they make all of their money doing good, or or somewhat giving back to that community.
You
Yeah.
know what I love? I love that Foot Locker is really heavily invested in Compton, Watts, and South Central. Like, they've put in really, really big, like, their stores that they're putting in the city. Of course, it's to extract money, but they did it for a sense of pride. You see some artists, you see some athletes that come from the community represented in the store, and I think Foot Locker's done a really good job. And it's a couple of other organizations that are actually building up the community. Even though they're putting their stores there, their stores are having giveaways, back to school drives, giving out backpacks to the students and the schools. And I think that's what it's really about, giving back to the kids and starting from the bottom and working their way up.
I think when you don't see corporations getting involved, then they okay with the policies.
Yeah, but I
Mhm.
also think that when I'm thinking about responsibility, I think the first responsibility is to the employees of whatever company that is. So if there is a policy or some activity that's impacting groups of people who are employed within your organization, I think that you have a responsibility to them first, right? I think that you also you have a responsibility within the community where you have a business. So if you are, like you said, Trash talking about Foot Locker in Compton, how they have dedicated resources for that area. I think organizations, businesses, whatever, have a responsibility to the community in which they are doing business. I think beyond that, um, I don't know if I would use the word responsibility at that point, but I think it definitely internal and in the surrounding areas. And in terms of, by them being inconvenienced, that's that's pretty that's pretty tough. I mean, I don't know. I could just see that when BLM started and with the after George Floyd, there were some companies who presented as if they were being inconvenienced, right? I don't necessarily know if they were. So I think inconvenience might be subjective. Like I don't know, right? Because a real inconvenience, I think, would really, really garner some real impact. But what would that look like? I don't know. We can
Right.
talking about this, but I think, I don't know. That's a tough one.
Hey, so you guys, before we close this out, what's your final thoughts on the boycotts in Florida? Let's start with you, Rhonda.
If you are going to boycott, I would still shop black. Like, don't completely boycott the entire state. Just be intentional about where you go in the state, who you do business with.
How about you, Khalif?
I would definitely remember where you coming from, who raised you, and who took care of you as a youngin'. And when you go to these places and your thought is you're patronizing business, make sure you patronize businesses that are welcoming to you, one, and that they prove to you by the way they welcome you in that they want your business. Because if you start hitting them in their pockets, then you'll start getting some real results.
How about you, Lashika?
Yeah, I gotta piggyback what Rhonda said. Be intentional. If you know you're going to Florida or any other state that probably needs to be boycotted, you can do your research ahead of time. Find those black-owned restaurants, black-owned, even gyms and recreational centers. There are black people who own gyms and sports centers in Florida. You can't tell me that does not exist. There have to be black people who are doing Airbnb or have a bed and breakfast. You don't have to stay at a Marriott or at a big name hotel. So yeah, be intentional.
Hey, so I'm gonna stick to that. Be intentional, and I'm gonna give just an example, right? Like, I started going to this cleaners, and I've told you guys this story before, but it was more expensive than the one I was going to. But since I was trying to be intentional and shop with this brother that had a cleaners, he was about $1.50 per pair of pants more, right? And I used to get one wear to the cleaners, and I was spending a lot of money at the cleaners. So what I did, how can I go to this guy and keep going? Okay, I know how to fix it. I'll get 2 wears out of each pair of jeans that I wear, right? Possibly 3. So instead of me just taking them off, folding them up and send them to the cleaners, okay, now I got to be intentional about staying a little cleaner and wearing these jeans twice, maybe 3 times, right? And then now I can afford to go to him by doing that, right? So
Wow.
a win-win for both of us. Hey, you guys, just know we got problems, but we also have solutions, and we out.
We got problems and we got solutions. Thank you for listening. To stay connected with us, like, share, and subscribe to the We Got Problems podcast. You can find us on social media platforms at Curtis Martin 247, at Rhonda Wrights Official, and at the_trash_vegan_.